It is my joy to introduce Reverend Joanne, and her title is Don't Take It Personally, But I Love Myself. So, Reverend Joanne.
I wish you could see all the butterflies in my stomach because they're so beautiful. Good morning, beautiful. Thank you for affirming that back to me. I love you. And I love me too. So I ask you to please join me in what we call spiritual mind treatment or affirmative prayer. And let's do this by surrendering the weight of our body to the chair. In total confidence, this chair supports us. It supports our building, and we are safe. And now I ask you to take a couple of deep, cleansing breaths. And let the oxygen you breathe be the elixir of relaxation and serenity. As I affirm and know with gratitude for this beautiful day, there is one life, one creator, one divinity, one love I call God. I live my life knowing I am that I am. I am life. I am co-creator. I am divine. It fills me with wonder and anticipation each and every day, the I am. And I wonder what self-love will bring into my life today. And I anticipate the mystery of life. In this state of wonder, there is light, joy, newness, new beginnings, peaceful endings, and I'm ready and willing to fully participate in it all. With loving thanks for this truth, for the power and the passion each new day brings, for Ernest Holmes and his philosophy that there's a power for good in the universe greater than I am, and I can use it for good. For this center, these people, I am grateful. And I release my word knowing it is heard, acted upon and returned in abundance. And together we say, and so it is. And so it is just something that we've adopted as our testament of faith and letting it go. You might hear amen a lot more. It's the same thing. It's like, I'm done, it's happening, and I'm moving on. I also like namaste, because it also talks about letting go, but it brings it a little deeper. It says, the God in me meets the God in you. That is namaste. In this state of love, I ask you to bring into your consciousness all those in your life, all those unknown to you that need to know that they are loved and they are receiving our positive thoughts for healing of body, mind, and spirit. Today I bring into my thoughts my sister Sue, my family, the ministers of this center, everybody here today, and last but not least, myself. Thank Thank you. So these past few weeks I've been reading, rereading this book that you might know. It's called The Four Agreements. I've taught this class 5 or 6 times. I've read this book 7 or 8 times. Peter's read it for the first time, and already he's just finished it, and he says, I'm going to read that book again. No accidents. It's life-changing for me. So Ernest Holmes also talks about this teaching. When I taught this course, it was called Self-Mastery. And Ernest Holmes' teachings takes these 4 agreements that are, don't take it, no. Be impeccable with your word. I did that last time. Don't take it personally. Don't make assumptions. And always do your best. And then I'm told the 5th one is be skeptical but learn to listen. And that's the most important one. Right, Linda? Okay. So those 4 agreements are very similar to our teaching in the science of mind. Ernest Holmes calls it self-mastery. And he says that he doesn't really break it down into phrases. So Don Miguel Ruiz wrote the 4 agreements. He's got those 4 steps. Ernest Holmes says something different. But he always teaches us that we can change our life by changing our thoughts and beliefs. And again, I have to tell you in a class, Ruth said to me, maybe we change our thoughts and beliefs first before we change our life. Maybe we don't have to change our life to change our thoughts and beliefs. So it's like the chicken and the egg. Doesn't matter either way, you're going to come to the same conclusion. There's only one. It's called love and light. So science of mind, when Ernest talks about how to use the power of thought to change your mind, today I was really, in our board meeting, I was saying, I think our superpower is just that, how to use the power of your thoughts to change your mind. And we do that through our affirmative prayer process, which is just a series of steps, and I'm going to talk about them later. But I also wanted to, when I was looking at the 4 agreements and reading some quotes in there, I pulled out the Science of Mind and looked for similar quotes. I was shocked to find out how similar they are. And I'm just going to read you a few of them. In the 2nd agreement, don't take it personally, on page 48, Don Miguel Ruiz says, nothing other people say or do is because of you. It's because of themselves. Well, Ernest Holmes says in the Big Science of Mind book on page 348, he says, race suggestion is a real thing. And each individual carries around with themselves and has written into their own mentality impressions, things that he consciously thought, but probably never even experienced. So the things that you're thinking are something that maybe you didn't even experience. You just witnessed somebody else experiencing them. And to me, that translates into don't take anything personally, because most of what you hear and even some of what you see and believe never really happened. And then I move on to another one. On page 51 of the 4 agreements, Don Miguel Ruiz says, what other people say does not affect me because I know what I am. I don't need to be accepted. Ernest Holmes says in The Science of Mind on page 159, I love this quote, pure faith is spiritual conviction. And he says the embodiment of an idea, the acceptance of a concept, is a spiritual conviction. If we believe that the Spirit incarnated in us can demonstrate, shall we be disturbed in what appears to contradict it? We shall often need to know that the truth which we announce is superior to the condition. It only knows I am, nothing else. I am is probably the greatest phrase you'll ever use for don't take it personally, because whatever you attach to the end of it, you're affirming, you're creating I am. So that's just a few of the many things that I found the similarities. And I found it because there's only one. Ernest Holmes calls it love. He says, love is the way, and law makes the way possible. And his law is like the law of gravity, the law of electricity. It just works. The same with the law of mind. Whatever you think, you create. You don't have to know why. It just does. It creates. And his way of doing it, Ernest Holmes, is the 7 steps of affirmative prayer. If you've taken this teaching, you know there's 9, there could be 11, there could be 5, but there's really only 5, and you can expand as much as you want. And there is a creative intelligence governing the universe. Reverend Tress calls it divinity. Lots of people call it energy. I call it G-O-D. And I have to tell you, I had a real problem with that word G-O-D for a long, long time, because I had a bad experience, and I was holding the whole world responsible, and I was taking it personally. Until I read Greg Braden's book called The God Code. He says G-O-D is an elemental code, an ancient elemental code that stands for oxygen, hydrogen, and nitrogen. Guess what that is? That's energy. And the only thing that we have different is carbon. We have a body. So we are energy plus a body. And weren't we just talking about that, how people believe that this is us, not this is us? So Ernest Holmes says there is an energy, a power for good in the universe we call God. And the second one is, because I'm created from that energy, from that carbon, oxygen, nitrogen, I am energy too. So I am created from that creator. So God is, and so am I. And as soon as we affirm that, the world's your oyster. You can create any affirmation you want, and you start it with I am. I declare and know I am peace, I am loving, I am accepted, anything you want to create in your life. If you say it and you feel it in your heart and believe it, it's coming back to you, multiplied and overflowing. But I have to warn you, it doesn't come back the way you think. And it doesn't come back to you in 5 minutes. Sometimes it takes 5 years. But if you can remember and hold that consciousness of the I am, it's on its way. And it'll get here when G-O-D knows you're ready for it. So all you can do is prepare the soil. I love that. Pure faith is spiritual conviction. That phrase changed my life. What others say does not affect me. That changed my life. Along with this phrase in the 4 agreements that I didn't like so much, it says, I am immune to criticism. Oh, I love that one. And compliments. And I had to really think to myself, what? I have to be immune to compliments too? To be immune to criticism? What kind of a story is that? But anytime you take a compliment personally, you're letting somebody else tell you who you are. And anytime you take in somebody else's criticism, you're letting somebody tell you who you are. And I just have to tell you, when I'm faced with criticism, and I have to expand on that, I don't think there's any such thing as constructive criticism. I think somebody just put that word in front to give them permission. But there's a lot of constructive compliments out there. So feel free to tell everybody all the compliments, because now they know they can't take it personally. So when I'm faced with criticism, that unabridged, or the criticism that's not constructive, I think of something. I'm a really visual person. So what I think of is I think I'm in the middle of a meadow, and there's a picket fence around me. And nothing can get into my white picket fence but loving, kind thoughts and people. And nobody's even allowed in the gate unless I let them in. So I've created a buffer. So when you create a buffer or space around yourself, then your personal boundaries don't get blurred. And it brings me back to that agreement, that second agreement. Don't take anything personally. But it also takes you into that third agreement that I'm going to talk about next time I talk. It's a tough one. Don't make assumptions. That's a tough one for me because I don't like to ask questions. Because sometimes I might not like the answer and I'm still taking it personally. So if you want to buffer yourself from people, create a personal space for yourself. Some people call it an aura, an energy. I'm a visual person, and since the time I was 12 years old, I wanted a white picket fence. So for me, that's my safe zone, is my white picket fence. So, when I think about don't make assumptions, that's a lot easier for me to digest with a compliment. Because I'm assuming when somebody says to me, just for example, "You're so kind," I make the assumption, heck, I'm the only person out there that's kind. Wow, that is so amazing. But that in reality, there's millions and millions of people out there who are kind. So how can I take that personally? Oh, I'm kind, but so are a million other people? That dilutes it a lot. So we can't take that personally. And the other thing about when somebody tells me I'm kind, I have to remember that they're kind too. Because if they don't have it in themselves, they can't even see it in me. So whenever you tell me I'm kind, I say, thank you, back at you. Because you have to have it to see it. I just was reminded of my mom in the background when sometimes I'd come home and say, so-and-so said blah, blah, blah. And she always says, well, you know what I said, Joanne? You have to say to them, I'm rubber and you're glue. And whatever you say bounces off of me and sticks to you. So I can do that with criticism, but I got to really work on doing that with compliments. And there's just kind of an understanding in yourself when you understand that people can only see your goodness if they have goodness inside of you. It really opens you up to something amazing. So when I say don't take compliments personally, what I mean is connect with that person and tell them, I wonder if people know that they can only see the good in somebody if they have it in themselves. I want them all to know. Often people say, you're so complimentary, and I think, oh, thank you so much, because it means I've got it inside myself too. That really helps. That really helps not just me, but it helps in all your relationships. If you're at work or at home or your children, anytime somebody says something critical to you, offer them grace because they have it in themselves. If they think that you're not doing enough or your house isn't clean enough, offer them grace because they thought, just like the compliments, they're thinking it about themselves, and then, for some reason they think, if I tell her house isn't clean, that makes my house clean. It doesn't work. And with compliments, offer them grace, but you can be a lot more explanatory with compliments. You can say thank you. It takes one to know one. It's harder with criticism when somebody says your house isn't clean. You can't say, thank you, neither is yours. So, there's no one answer to all of this stuff. So I know for me, I like the word compassionate. I want to be a compassionate person. And I want to please everybody. But I want to challenge you and remind you there's some people you can't help. That's a hard one to let go of. I know in my life right now I've got some people that have great physical challenges. Some people have great spiritual challenges, great emotional challenges, and you can't help them. But I have this ability to remember little ditties, little quotes. And one of them that always stuck with me was something Ernie always said. And he used to say, Healed people heal people. And hurt people hurt people. And that doesn't mean that somebody's setting out to hurt you. It means that they're hurting inside. And so all they know how to do is hurt. And they're not even projecting it at you. They're trying to release their hurt. So I think the greatest thing we can do is offer them grace. And wouldn't it be nice if somebody, when they complimented you or criticized you, you could say to them, "Oh, thank you. Don't take it personally, but I know because I already love myself." And even in a criticism, don't take it personally, but say, "Thank you, but I love myself." That would be so great if we could go around the world like that. And I think there's a couple of ways that you can stop taking things personally and affirm that you are loved. One of them is an affirmation, of course. Ernest Holmes, Louise Hay, Wayne Dyer, all those people, you know, from the old age. There's probably some young people here thinking, who are those people? Well, we knew them. They talk about an affirmation. Create an affirmation, create an affirmation. Louise Hay's favorite affirmation that she said every day was, "Harmony, peace, joy, and love surround me and dwell within me. I am safe and secure." And that really got me thinking about the Bible, about that commandment in the Bible. I asked somebody if they knew which one it was, but no, he didn't answer me. It says, "Love thy neighbor as thyself." Boy, we didn't really learn about that in church or Sunday school. That first, you have to love yourself to love your neighbor. Love your neighbor as yourself. We could even turn that around to be even more relevant. Whoa, you're not going to like the sound of this one. Judge your neighbor as you judge yourself. It's a lot easier to love your neighbor, but the next time you judge your neighbor as you judge yourself. It put a whole new spin on it. I was saying at the board meeting today, do you know, I decided I was going to work on these 4 agreements, and this week it was don't take it personally. Holy cow, when you decide you're going to work on something, the universe just slams you with ideas and ways to not take it personally. I must have told myself 15 times today, this week, don't take it personally. So thank you, Creator, for sending me all those examples. So also when you're doing an affirmation, be careful what you ask for. How many people do you know that said, "I need a break"? Well, I don't want to point anybody out, but she's not here today. One of the ministers said, "I really need a break." She was doing a service, fell off a deck and broke her leg. That is a big example of a break, and she had a long period of a break. So she'll often tell you, if she was here, she'd say, "I want to talk about that," because this is what happened. So I want to give you a couple of ideas about how to create that in your life. So I think you could do that affirmation. Write your own affirmation. Louise Hay's, I'll say it again. Harmony, peace, joy, and love surround me and dwell within me. I am safe and secure. Create your own. Create an affirmation today. Outside on the table, we have the 4 agreements, and on the back is a blank affirmative prayer. You can create your affirmation today. The other thing is journaling. Not everybody journals, and sometimes you'll sit down and you think, "Oh, I don't even have anything to say." Maybe just put one beside your bed at night, and if you can't sleep, write it down, and then let it go. Journaling is a great way to release things that you don't want to judge your neighbor and judge yourself. So write it down. Also, love yourself. It takes a long time to say, "I love myself." You can be your own worst critic. Ernest and Don Miguel Ruiz talks about that. He says we're our own judge and jury. So, of course, we're never going to win unless we change the laws that we live by. If we live by the laws of society that say we have to do this and that, you're going to lose every time. Create your own laws and make them based on love and light, and love yourself. You know, you think about loving yourself, and sometimes you say to yourself, oh, you know, I'm not going to say it because I'm not affirming it. But you know what I mean, the things you say to yourself. You wouldn't go to a store and say that to the cashier. You wouldn't say it to your friends, to your family. Why do you say it to yourself? Love yourself. And how about, wouldn't it be nice if, you know, at Staples they have that, what is that red button? What? That was easy. Wouldn't that be great if we had this red button, we called it restart. Just press it, okay, restart. Restart that thought, restart that life. Refresh. Oh yeah, on the computer we have that. Refresh. We should do that. And some people do it. They already do it. They don't need the red button. Some people meditate. Some people do affirmative prayer. Some people listen to music. Some people play music. Some people run. I'm going to start riding a bike. Some people ride a bike. Don't take it personally, but I love myself enough to ride a bike. Deepak Chopra. I like to research a lot of different people, and I've read a lot of books. And so I go through and I put these little tabs in them. So when I was doing this, I had the 7 spiritual laws of success. And I opened it, and Ernest Holmes says, so crazy that he knew I was thinking about this. He says, when your internal reference point is your spirit, you are immune to criticism and unfazed of any challenge. Can you believe that I opened it to that page? He says, you can harness the power of love and use energy creatively for the expression and experience of your own evolution. Wow. When your internal reference point is your spirit, you're immune to criticism and unfazed by any challenge. Wow. I know, so that's a lot. First just do an affirmation, then write in your journal, then love yourself, and then hit the restart button, and then read some books and listen to Deepak. I'm not done. I got 2 more. I go on all day. So this one is really important, and it is part of the 5th agreement. Be skeptical, but learn to listen. That means yourself too. How many times you just stop and sit in the silence till it starts getting uncomfortable and you get fidgety and you hear the dryer quit and you still, and the fridge just clicked on. And once all that's done, then you're alone with yourself and you can listen. That's so important. But not just with yourself. We live in a society of responders, not listeners. Not in this congregation, of course, because you guys are all great listeners. I love you all. You're beautiful. But all those other people, we do listen to respond. As soon as you talk to somebody, you can tell they're zoned out. They're already drafting a response, and you're not even done talking. So, again, I heard this phrase somewhere. I don't know who said it, but it had 3 words. It says, stop, pause, and listen. You can't just listen because you got that monkey mind, thinks 10,000 thoughts a day. First, you got to stop. And you got to give yourself a second to pause. And whether you say to that person that has a really something you want to hear, you say, just give me a second. I just got to wrap my head around this. Which really to me means I'm just shutting off my monkey mind. And then I challenge you to listen. Listen when people talk to you. Listen to yourself. And while you're listening, don't take it personally. When you're responding, that means, oh yeah, well personally I've already done that. I've been through that. I know what that is. Don't take it personally. And it boils down to a choice. We all have choices. And the biggest choice you can make is take care of yourself. You need sleep. You need nutrition. You need companionship. You need love. Take care of yourself. It's easy to get negative when you haven't slept. I know it happens to me. And now we know you get angry, you get hangry. If you don't eat, you get hangry. So you got to eat, you got to sleep. So it boils down to a choice. So the next time an opportunity arises to take something personally, these are your choices: love or fear. You always have a choice. So you can make this agreement with yourself. Do you know the 4 agreements boil down to 4 things Ernest Holmes says? What you believe, who you are, what you feel, and how you behave. And those relate to the 4 agreements. What you believe. Don't take it personally. Use your own affirmation. Everything people say is not about you. Who you are goes to the 3rd agreement. Be impeccable with your word. Because if you know who you are, nobody can tell you anything different. How you feel. Don't make assumptions. If you feel like you don't understand, stop, pause, and listen. People usually are telling you, and you've already made a decision what they're saying. And if you don't understand, ask. And how you behave is a great one. Do you know, they say this last 3 agreements: don't take it personally, don't make assumptions, and always do your best. Always go back to that first one. Be impeccable with your word. But the 4th one is always do your best. And know that your best changes every day, depending, of course, if you're hangry, if you had enough sleep. So your best is going to change every day. But every night when you go to bed, can you tell yourself, I did the best I could? And if you can't tell yourself that, get that journal out, write it down, and let it go. So those are the 4 agreements I choose to live by. I'm impeccable with my word. I don't take things personally. I don't make assumptions, and I always do my best. I'm going to work on that the next few weeks. I'll let you know at the end of the month how it pans out. If I'm here, you'll know I made it, and if I took the day off, you'll know I'm still working on it. So I am Reverend Joanne Faith. Peace and love, Boruck. And I wish you all an amazing, amazing day. I love you. And so it is.